In Ukraine, a huge radio telescope has been installed, capable of sending powerful signals into space. There are only two such telescopes in the world. Russian scientist Alexander Leonidovich Zaitsev hopes to use this instrument to send messages to extraterrestrials. He shares his thoughts. "I am engaged in sending messages to our supposed brothers in reason. This is an endeavor for eccentrics and loners, but nevertheless I believe it is important. I am convinced that we are not the only living beings capable of breathing and thinking. If they were advanced enough to contact us, they would have done so already." The story shifts to Monterey Bay, California, where Lawrence Doime, a research fellow at the Institute of Networks, is searching for new planets and studying animal behavior. He hopes that this may aid in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. "We record the sounds made by humpback and gray whales, dolphins, and other animals. I hope that someday this will help us decipher an alien signal if we receive one," he says. Sean Hanser, a marine biologist, notes that today the conditions for work are perfect. "This is the best weather one could dream of," he shares, preparing to conduct underwater recordings. He can only speculate on what an extraterrestrial signal might sound like, but he knows the voices of whales well and has already compiled an entire phonothek of marine mammal sounds. "Today I will be listening to gray whales for the first time," he adds, showcasing a hydrophone, an underwater microphone that allows recording sounds in a range inaccessible to the human ear. "We are very pleased with this microphone. We got it a few years ago. With its help, we have already recorded the voices of several whale species. 2 hours later, gray whales come into view." "Great. That's a group of whales. They are somewhere near us. Am I right?" he asks, trying to determine the direction of their movement. Despite 3 days of fruitless searching, Lawrence Doime remains patient. "During my search for extraterrestrial intelligence, I have learned to wait." In Moscow, there are also people striving to establish contact with extraterrestrials. Radio engineer Alexander Zaitsev has developed a method for sending messages to the farthest corners of our Milky Way, although the recipients of these messages are still unknown. He wonders what the message should look like. When it is said that the message should be short, others say it should contain everything. Both viewpoints have long been debated and exist on equal footing. By the assignment of the Russian Academy of Sciences, Zaitsev has already sent several messages into space. His area of activity is called MITE, sending messages to extraterrestrial intelligence. Together with Moscow participants of the project, he discusses the next message to the aliens, deciding which star it should be directed towards. "So my intellect is arranged in such a way that I find this interesting. Some people are interested in buying a Lexus, but for me, I can't quite manage it. I can't afford a Lexus, but somehow I can manage to synthesize interstellar radio messages," he explains. However, not everyone shares Zaitsev's enthusiasm. Astronomer and writer David Brin calls him naive and considers his plans extremely dangerous. "We are very vulnerable. Dropping a bomb on us from space is much easier than sending a spaceship with invaders," he warns. Brin expresses concerns that hostile aliens might come to us and destroy our planet, citing numerous science fiction films that tell of self-guiding bombs that can be dropped on a civilization after receiving a radio signal from it. Thus, potential adversaries are eliminated. It is possible to create robots that will travel from planet to planet, extracting raw materials to create their replicants. These machines are called von Neumann machines. However, as one researcher emphasizes, "I do not claim that millions of deadly, horrific, devilish von Neumann machines are just waiting to attack us. I am merely stating that no one has proven otherwise." In his laboratory in Moscow, scientist Alexander Zaitsev is developing the technical parameters of a new interstellar message. He realizes that the scientific community criticizes his activities, but this does not stop him. "No one can stop me," he asserts, continuing to promote his project. To complete his mission, Zaitsev needs a module that converts computer data into analog signals. The text of the interstellar message from his laptop goes to an interface that converts it into digital information and then into an analog radio signal. "For this purpose, we use such an integrated circuit," he explains, comparing the old device with the new, smaller one. After conversion, the signal is transmitted through the transmitter to the antenna and then into space. Meanwhile, in Tiburon, California, a producer is shooting a commercial to increase profits from space. Hello, aliens! I am Dr. David Livingston, the owner-founder of the network spaceshow.com. I have news for you. We want to know how we can travel to space and back cheaply and safely. We need your help, he declares, promising to be good partners in the intergalactic community. Livingston's company can send messages into space for just $99. Anyone who wants to say something to aliens but doesn't know how can do so now, he adds, emphasizing the commercial aspect of his initiative. This raises criticism, as it is evident that this is done for profit. The authorities of the state of Florida easily granted the organizers a broadcasting license. Jim Lewis, who works at the company Deep Space Communications, also sends private messages into space from individuals and organizations. We send any information as long as it does not violate moral standards, he says. The sender must hold the copyright to the material being sent, and messages can come in various formats: text, video, or music. Lewis emphasizes that, after transmission, we create a protocol, which is certified by a technical staff member. It specifies the time, power, altitude, and azimuth of the antenna, which allows determining the point in space to which the messages were directed. We certify this and issue a certificate to the client regarding where their messages were delivered, he adds, assuring that people from the agency are warned about potential dangers. Nevertheless, Jim Lewis has a clear conscience. All TV stations send signals into space every day, he notes, emphasizing that it is naive to believe that the various electronic means of communication we use on Earth do not send signals into space. So we are constantly sending some messages there, he says, adding that despite this, aliens want to take a closer look at us. It seems they find it necessary to make us more noticeable to themselves in order to achieve the goal of their journey. In Valencia, Spain, the worldwide boom of scientific and private space communications has prompted the International Astronomical Society to take action. I just want to say that scientists from around the world and other wise individuals should meet and discuss this, summarizes one of the participants in the discussion. Every year, leading specialists in the field of space travel gather to exchange information about the latest technical developments and political concepts. At the Congress in Valencia, the adoption of an international agreement that prohibits sending messages to extraterrestrials is being discussed. For many scientists and politicians, the threat to Earth from extraterrestrial civilizations has long ceased to be science fiction. Former American diplomat Michael Michaud, one of the initiators of this treaty, emphasizes that if a ship traveling to Earth at 1/10 the speed of light were controlled by a robot, time would not matter. He poses the question, what if the people launching this ship, or the robots, live forever or perhaps for thousands of years? For them, 43 years means nothing. At the conference, participants split into two camps. Proponents of the agreement warn of the dangers lurking for humanity in space, while others see the international agreement as a threat to their scientific work. Although Alexandra Zaitseva was not at the conference, he could have been pleased that the working group did not reach any agreement. This means that he continues to legally send his messages, while Michael Michaud continues the fight for the ratification of his treaty. Michaud insists that it is important to first reach an international consensus, and only then send messages to other civilizations. In 1989, he presented a draft agreement to the United Nations regulating communication with extraterrestrials, which prohibits scientists from responding to signals received from space without prior coordination with the international community. However, the issue of information transmission in this agreement remains unresolved. Now, Michaud and his associates are striving to amend this point, but their proposed treaty is not being rushed into international practice. It is still being discussed by the scientific community, and the United Nations shows no interest. Michaud emphasizes the necessity of considering the possibility of civilizations that are hostile to humanity, which may perceive us as a real threat. I do not know what to do in this situation, but we need to discuss it with educated people who could consider all possible scenarios and render a verdict on what may happen, he says. And then we can come to a conclusion that will make us very cautious about sending messages into space, or perhaps even abandon it altogether. Nevertheless, messages have long been making their way into space, and no one is able to stop them. The most effective interplanetary message has been the Voyager project. Initially, it was assumed that 2 space probes would explore the most distant planets of the solar system and then disappear into the depths of space, becoming space junk. However, at NASA, it quickly became clear that Voyager could undertake a more complex task, to become humanity's messenger in space. Edward Stone, one of the participants in the project, notes that since Voyager was the first spacecraft heading into interstellar space, it was decided to send a message from Earth with it. This message was recorded on an old-fashioned phonograph record, containing not only sound, but also photographs of our planet. Frank Drake, one of the creators of this record, still keeps a duplicate of it in his attic and is happy to show it on special occasions. He describes the container that held the golden records on the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 spacecraft. To facilitate the participation of future listeners, Drake included instructions and a playback device with the record. However, the most challenging question for him was the content of the golden record. What would interest extraterrestrials the most? He concluded that sending scientific information would be foolish, as they likely already know everything. Instead, he decided that they would be interested in learning about the nature of our planet, because it is truly special. Images of Earth in encoded format are located in the grooves of the golden record. Frank Drake made every effort to create the clearest image of our planet possible. It was a brief overview of the state of our civilization over 70 years. For the first time, we had technologies that could send messages beyond our solar system into interstellar space. This became an indicator of our level of development, which allowed us to send such a message into the universe. Greetings in 22 languages, the sounds of Earth. And music from Bach to Louis Armstrong. In approximately 4 billion years, the sun will explode and destroy Earth, but these 2 records will continue to travel through the universe and may become the only reminder of our existence. I believe this is of immense significance. I am proud to have been able to participate in such a project. It was conceived to send a message into interstellar space. A space company wants to reveal to the universe humanity's greatest secret. They plan to send our genetic code into space, as well as greetings from children all over the world. Hello, extraterrestrials. Space, space, I am from Earth. I want to make contact. Dear aliens, please be kind and we will invite you to our Earth. How do you live there? If you want, come to us on Earth. It is nice here too. As part of the project, every child will add their hair, as the root of the hair contains DNA. In this way, representatives of highly developed civilizations will be able to learn everything about humanity. Hello, my name is Taser. I want to give you my hair so that you can make me the same, so that aliens can take my photographs. Greetings from another planet. Will aliens ever be interested in these children? Will this happen because a space company decided to joke? There is something to think about. David Brin. Supporters of the network believe that all alien races are friendly. I do not know if this is true, as there is no evidence. Perhaps there are highly developed alien races that are not friendly. If that is the case, can they harm us? I do not know. That is the question. We do not know this. Eupatoria, Ukraine. Alexander Zaitsev can send his messages only from one place. From here, from the shore of the Black Sea. The Eupatoria radio telescope is one of the 2 largest in the world, equipped with a powerful transmitter. But Zaitsev's trip to Ukraine may become problematic. He understands that his activities are not approved everywhere. You see, this is a very delicate issue. It is more or less clear to me, but when I start explaining it to people who are far from this, they do not understand me, and very few people share my views, but I can share them. I do not understand that it is some kind of theater of the absurd, the Caucasian service, Kafka on the ancient land of Crimea. I do not understand. Maybe someone else understands, but I do not understand this. Because the absurdity of the situation is overwhelming, I do not know what to do here, so I make such a statement and can only say, unfortunately, I must say goodbye to Eupatoria. Farewell, Eupatoria. Monterey Bay, California. What messages can beings send that we do not understand? To decipher unknown signals, Lawrence Doyle and Sean Henzer want to calculate the mathematical structure of the language. First, the language of whales, and then, perhaps, that of aliens. We can record the sounds of whales from a great distance. Their voices, especially the low sounds, travel very well in water. We are going to submerge a hydrophone in the water and then let them come closer and swim past us. We see how the sounds of passing whales are recorded. The recording begins, and we hear their communication. The sounds resemble those that come from another world. Duell utilizes information theory for his research. This is a field of applied mathematics and engineering. This method was developed for the telephone industry. It defines the quality of information transmitted over distances. Duell became the first to apply information theory to dolphins and whales. The scientists suggest that animals have the ability to locate lost signals, especially among whales. These marine mammals signal to each other during mating and coordinate hunting and feeding. By applying information theory to them, researchers hope to better understand their complex communication system. Furthermore, this may aid in understanding the complexity of extraterrestrial languages. Some skeptics argue that researchers from the SETI program should direct their radio telescopes at Los Angeles rather than the starry sky. There may be a grain of truth in these words, as the physical form of extraterrestrial life could have been conceived on Earth rather than arising in space. Hollywood has been answering scientific questions about what aliens might look like for many years. Every child knows how they look. At night, famous characters from science fiction and horror films gather on the Alley of Fame, where the creators of Aliens, Alia Kodzilis and Tom Woodruff, work. These Oscar winners have played a huge role in shaping our perception of extraterrestrial life. When they are asked to create an alien for a movie, they first delve into the film's plot. The image must correspond to the film's demands. Sometimes aliens need to be dangerous, sometimes thoughtful or kind, and at times their motives remain unclear. Their goal is to create an image that will be understandable to viewers and support the film's main idea. Perhaps the aliens we encounter will look nothing like we imagine. Hollywood sets average standards for their appearance. For example, the alien from the film Alien Resurrection has a very long neck. This is part of the design decision to make it resemble a vulture. Inside the suit are components that allow the actor to see and breathe. The creators must consider not only the film, but also the comfort of the actor. This character must evoke horror, with almond-shaped eyes, a small mouth, and an almost shapeless nose. Additionally, they invent details that evoke fear, such as sunken cheeks, visible jawbones, and hollowed temples, to create a skeletal-like image. The success of science fiction films indicates that the idea of aliens fascinates humanity. In the 1950s, the myth of UFOs was born, and the media began reporting on anything that could resemble a flying saucer. Do flying saucers actually exist? Professor Paul Mueller from the University of California, in his spare time, created a model of a flying saucer with a diameter of 4 meters and is ready to test it in action. At the same time, fear is growing of hostile UFOs capable of destroying Earth and humanity. How likely is such a scenario? Scientists allow for the possibility of aliens coming to Earth, but the stars are at vast distances from one another. Even with modern technology and science, we cannot propose a practical solution for how to reach a neighboring star. Perhaps we will communicate through electronics, and radio waves will become the primary means of contact with other intelligent beings. There is also the option that one day we will send self-repairing robots, but what will that give us? Why all this? Many believe that such robots could become uncontrollable and turn against their creators. Given the level of science today, physical contact with aliens remains impossible. Many still believe that UFOs visit our planet, claiming that the American government is hiding this information. Representatives of the Air Force are regularly invited on television to answer new questions. From time to time, the Air Force is accused of withholding facts about UFOs. Colonel Tucker, responding to these accusations, states that they are absolutely unfair. He emphasizes that the U.S. Air Force, in conjunction with the Press Center of the Department of Defense, regularly publishes data on UFO phenomena and always supports the media in their efforts to conduct their own investigations. We have absolutely nothing to hide, he asserts. However, despite this, the question arises, where do the countless UFO witnesses come from? Colonel Tucker explains that many of these sightings may be optical illusions or homemade models suspended on fishing line and photographed. Nevertheless, he acknowledges that there are cases that science cannot explain. UFO sightings are recorded all over the world, but one place stands out in particular: Rochelle, Nevada. Here, unusual flying objects regularly appear over a road known as Alien Highway. Little Alley Inn is the only pub within a radius of 80 kilometers and a meeting place for the residents of the small town of Rochelle, which consists of a cluster of mobile homes. Regulars at the establishment are convinced that aliens visit them regularly. Glenn Kinsey, the cook from Little Alley Inn, shares his experience. "I believe they exist. In 1972, I was 9 years old, and my sister and I saw a huge gray disk that could cover 3 or 4 city blocks. It happened in Southern California in broad daylight," he continues. "For several weeks, I observed a very bright light in the sky. It did not look like an ordinary celestial body. It was too close to the ground. I have no idea what it is, but one night, one side of the light was red and the other was orange." Glenn Kinsey notes that each time the light appears in the same place and wonders if it could be something in the mountains. "No, the disk hovers over the testing ground," he says, describing how it remains motionless in the air early in the evening. What do these glowing points conceal that perplex the locals and visitors of the Alien Highway? Could a UFO undetected by radar and the United States Air Force be hovering over the Nevada desert? And why are scientists not interested in this phenomenon? "I watch it every night to make sure I'm not going crazy," adds Glenn Kinsey, emphasizing his caution. "In this small town, there are people who are interested in myths and want to see if it is true. There are also those who claim to have had experiences communicating with aliens. They want to come here and share with others who have had similar experiences," he says. "The secret may be hidden behind a chain of hills stretching along the Alien Highway." Behind the hills lies the secret military base Nellis, where the United States Air Force tests military aircraft. This is just a few kilometers from the mobile hometown of Rochelle. Dave Sims, a retiree, spends hot days in the desert at a homemade observation point, from where he can see the aircraft of the Air Force well. "Many combat aircraft have been tested here," he says, noting that, in the desert silence, these machines can seem very unusual. A lot of technical innovations are still being tested, including Raptors and secret directed energy technologies. There may be an object hovering in the sky that no radar will detect. This creates uncertainty, as you never know what to expect from an enemy and how to strike them. It is possible that this is related to the military base known as Area 51, a top-secret facility. For many years, among supporters of UFO theories, there have been rumors that the Air Force stores fragments of crashed UFOs in underground bunkers and attempts to reverse engineer their technologies. However, there is no evidence to support this. For a long time, the United States government did not respond to these rumors, neither confirming nor denying them. For UFO theorists, this became confirmation of their assumptions. Under public pressure, the United States government decided to conduct an investigation into the UFO phenomenon. In 1969, a report known as the Blue Book Project was published. This document contained objective explanations for more than 12,000 UFO sightings, but it did not contain anything that confirmed their existence. Surveys were collected and processed over a period of 20 years, and ultimately 700 cases were found that the government could not explain. Some of these became classics and even attained cult status, such as the film that allegedly shows the autopsy of a dead alien. Despite the fact that it is easy to prove that this film is a hoax, the legend of aliens continues to live on. The alien autopsy film has become a modern myth and has secured its place in American pop culture. It is a profitable business selling small keychains with alien figurines. People are interested in communicating with the universe, but it is not as simple as just buying a toy with big eyes. Reflecting on such matters, one can understand that we cannot even imagine what our lives could be like if all of this were true. Science becomes more exciting when it encounters astonishing phenomena of nature. In the laboratory, Lawrence Doime and marine biologist Sean Hanser are separating whale sound recordings into individual components and analyzing the structure of the sounds. They discover that whale signals have a hierarchical structure previously observed only in human languages. Whales compose individual sounds into phrases that are periodically repeated, indicating communication. However, the researchers are not quick to assert that whales have a language, as their form of communication has not yet been sufficiently compared to human language. Some anthropologists argue that the more complex a language is, the more complex the community is, and this can be observed in the case of whales. If this assumption is correct, then the complexity of an alien language may prove to be too high. David Brin, an author of science fiction novels, often reflects on what a signal from space should sound like. He dreams of hearing a genuine signal, but the universe remains silent. This silence frightens him. If there are many intelligent beings on other planets, and they are all silent, perhaps we should follow their example. They may have reasons for such behavior. Alexander Zaitsev, a Russian scientist, believes that remaining silent is pointless. He is making every effort to send his new message as soon as possible in the interests of all humanity, even if it is not from Evpatoria, but from another location. He asserts that they are not revealing anything strategically important or top secret, but it will be interesting for them. Zaitsev speaks of sharing the peaks of their art, literature, and ideas of beauty. This is the humanistic orientation of their messages, and he sees nothing criminal in it. A critical voice in the ongoing debate about humanity's representation in the cosmos, David Brin has recently expressed strong concerns regarding those who advocate for sending messages to extraterrestrial civilizations. He argues that if humanity were to offer everything it has, its culture, music, science, and literature, what would be left for us to trade? Brin warns that those who engage in such actions today may one day be labeled as the greatest traitors to humanity. He is astonished that, aside from himself, no one else seems to protest when it comes to the safety of our planet in the vastness of space. He emphasizes the vulnerability of Earth, noting that the existence of even a single form of intelligent life can pose a significant threat. The risks multiply exponentially if multiple intelligent species are involved. While he advocates for diversity and tolerance, Brin stresses the necessity for humanity to unite. He believes this collective effort is of utmost importance, marking a crucial moment in the conversation about our place in the universe.